why am I stupid if I don't get a 15-year loan? If I'm like most people, I'm moving in 5 to 7 years anyway, my G.
It doesn't matter if it's a condo or a house or a duplex.
I love Glendo.
Find your breaker box and make sure you go through each one and label them.
The breaker box doesn't need labels as much risk as you have by shocking yourself. Don't label the breaker box. Gotta be smart. Real estate's tough. Hello, real estate enthusiasts. There are a lot of self-proclaimed real estate gurus out there. Welcome to a special edition of The Breakdown Mythbusters, only estate media. I'm Ben Belack, an actual super realtor, and today I'm diving into the best and, well, most psychotic real estate tips on TikTok. Let's start with Dave Ramsey.
Here's a couple of rules we use. Rule number 1 is to be debt-free, which you are. Rule number 2 is when you make your down payment, you need to retain enough to call your emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of household expenses. The third thing is never take out more than a 15-year fixed rate, where the payment is more than a fourth of your take-home pay. That's the max.
That's tough.
But that doesn't mean you need to be that stupid. Don't do that. Keep it conservative so you can get the house paid off in less than 15 years. That's the goal. Then the last thing is, if you can figure it out, make a down payment of 20% or more with a conventional Fannie Mae loan. You avoid PMI, private mortgage insurance. PMI costs you about $75 a month.
Okay, Dave, I have notes. Number 1, why do I have to be debt-free to buy a property? That eliminates everyone who finance their car. Number 2, 3 months of reserves is like not enough and scary. 3, why am I stupid if I don't get a 15-year loan? If I'm like most people, I'm moving in 5 to 7 years anyway, my G. Why am I paying the house off when the principal is not deductible? I want to redeploy that money to make me money. Next up, we've got Glenda Baker.
If you are young and you want to get into real estate, what should your first purchase be? Your first purchase should be at least 2 bedrooms and at least 2 bathrooms.
Okay, got it. No 1 bedrooms.
Why is that? Because you can rent out the other bedroom and bathroom to someone else, and that will offset whatever your mortgage payment is. You actually are paying far less to build equity in your principal residence. It doesn't matter if it's a condo or a house or a duplex. As long as you have the ability to rent out a bedroom.
Okay, got it. I love Glenda. We're friends, and I can legit listen to her tell a story all week long and twice on Sundays. And there is always a moral to a Glenda Baker story. And what I love most here is that Glenda is bridging the gap between affordability and home ownership. Sometimes in the beginning, you need to have someone else help you pay the mortgage, and that's okay. Although for me, I'd prefer to buy a duplex and rent out the top unit instead of the top bunk here in her example. Let's play the next one.
Pick up the keys to your next house or apartment. Here's the things you got to do right away. If you bought yourself a house, make sure you change the lock.
First thing I got to do right away is turn down Dad's volume. He's screaming into the microphone.
Locate your water shutoff valve. It might be in the house, under the house, or out on the street. Find your breaker box and make sure you go through each one and label them. The only way I know how to do that is trial and error.
By the way, the breaker box doesn't need labels as much risk as you have by shocking yourself. Don't label the breaker box.
Shut off! Measure your sliding doors and windows, and when you go to the hardware store, pick up some dowling so you can have an extra layer of security. Get yourself a wireless security camera system, because you're not going to have time to put in a hardwired system right away. These are easy to install. Remember, you don't know the neighborhood and the lay of the land. At the very least, you got to deep clean your toilet, or if you're like me, you got to replace the toilet seat. I got a video on that.
He's got a video of him on the toilet seat. Oh, Dad, look, I love this and these tips, but don't be fooled, okay? This is the same dad who unjustifiably kills the deal during inspections. And speaking of a deep clean, I probably deep clean those pants. I'm just saying. Let's move to Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I want somebody else to pay my mortgage for me. If I own my house, I'm the tenant.
Right.
I don't want to be my own tenant.
Ooh, smoke. He doesn't want to be his own tenant.
But in this environment where everything is crashing, is buying real estate now a good time?
Well, you got to be smart. But you got to be smarter. So that's why I always say your greatest asset is not this or this. Greatest asset is between this year and this year.
Right.
Oh, and the reason I come to these shows is because I'm always feeding this thing.
Ooh, Robert, that was so deep. Look, I don't want to be the tenant to the bank. I love this. Let's see what Grant Cardone has to say.
Things you're looking for when you buy a piece of real estate. Number one, cash flow. But if it don't cash flow positive, I never buy it. Basically, you take all the rent, less all the expenses, less the interest and principal. You take all those things. If this number is not positive, don't do it.
By the way, so many people are like, oh, if I just break even, it's fine. No, it's not. If it doesn't cash flow, you're out.
Because you want appreciation. Just because it cash flows doesn't mean I'll buy it. If it will go up in value over time, anywhere where there's job booms. Number three, you want depreciation. And next to depreciation, you want to write accelerated. I want to accelerate this depreciation. I want to put it on steroids. I don't want to write it off over 27 years. A home is depreciated over 27 years. You buy a house for $270,000, every year you get a $10,000 depreciation. My cash flow from the asset will not be taxed for the first 4 or 5 years I own it. Okay, number four, tax deferment. There's a thing called the 1031, okay? So that you could sell your property. My buddy sells the storage units. He makes $8 million. He can move that $8 million into a like-kind exchange or 1031 and not pay taxes on that thing.
How much storage is he going to buy for $8 million? That's what I want to know. Look, no notes here for Grant Cardone. I would watch that again and again, although he does oversimplify some things there that are not as easy as he says. I don't know about you guys. As much truth and fire as Grant Cardone spits, I feel like he's going to be in jail within 10 years. I don't know what it is. It's my feeling. Let's see what's next.
110K. I think I'm doing pretty good at age 33. Yeah, you're doing great. You want to do better? Take some of that 110,000, take 25% of it, buy your first rental property, and then you're off to the races. Then from that first rental property, you'll refinance it a year later, take the equity out, and buy a second one. Take another 25% from that 110, and boom. Guess what? Now you own two. And on your 110, you're going to have tax deductions from those rental pieces of property. You're going to keep more of the $110,000.
I feel the mortgage bills coming in. Mark Shapiro has this over leverage into the stratosphere, and he oversimplifies a refinance. What if rates go up? Honestly, that's why my old landlord back in the day lost his properties. Be careful with these get-rich-quick pitches and avoid anyone who says, marry the house and date the rate, because the rate can go up. I think we should hear from a millennial. It's time.
If you want to buy a house in 2024, make sure you do not do these things. To start, you're going to want to hold on to that 1999 Toyota Corolla just a little bit longer, because if you go finance a $50,000 car and have an insane car payment, guess what? That's going to affect how much house you can afford pretty significantly. So wait to do that after you buy a house.
I agree with the millennial.
Do not quit your job. Yes, that's right. You need income to buy a house. A lender will require W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns, actual legitimate set-in-stone proof that you have consistent income in order to qualify for a mortgage. And if you quit your job, you're not going to have any consistent income. Don't get a new credit card. Opening any new lines of credit, so getting a credit card or getting a loan, always lowers your credit score. And when you're buying a house, you want to have the best credit score possible so you get the best interest rate possible. So wait to do this again till after you buy a house. And lastly, if you can, try to avoid changing industries right before.
Everything comes down to the underwriter. You got to show the income and no new lines of credit during the escrow process. Lenders love consistency. So if you're planning to buy a property in the near term, don't make any changes to your financial profile. This is great advice. And lastly, let's hear from Budgeters Anonymous.
$80,000 a year. This is the house that you can afford in 2024 without being house poor. The median household income in the United States right now is $87,000 a year.
Why is he assuming in this video that we're making less than the national median?
But we're going to assume that you make $80,000 a year. So that means that before taxes, you're making $6,667 a month. You got to pay taxes. So that actually comes out to $5,000 a month. But here's the thing. You'll get approved for 30% of this number, which is about $2,000 a month. Not even about. It is $2,000 a month. Don't let lenders fool you. Don't let a real estate agent fool you. You do not want to take on this kind of monthly payment or else you're going to be house poor. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to take 25% of your take-home pay after taxes, which comes out to $1,250 a month.
Bro, that's my food bill. Easily.
And that has to cover your insurance, your taxes, your principal, and your interest. And we're going to assume that you're going to get about a 7% interest rate right now. That means you should try to get a loan of $150,000. If you put down a down payment of $50,000, you could get a home that's $200,000.
Oh my gosh. All right, we got to stop there. What town can $1,250 cover your monthly principal, interest, tax, and insurance? While this definitely won't buy you a house or a condo in Los Angeles, I am a huge fan of this type of math to avoid what I am, which is house poor. Now, that said, I have a super hot fiance and amazing city view to dry my tears at night. I think the biggest subtext of this video is the 4-decade high of this gap between affordability and median income in this country. Now, if he can solve for that, he'll probably get as many views as this show. The Breakdown, only on Estate Media. I'm Ben Belack.